Hello and welcome to another episode of Snakes Territory. I'm Jesse Friedman alongside Jack Sommrs. And Jack, the Diamondbacks have won themselves another series as Zac Gallen was very, very good in this Wednesday finale against the Texas Rangers. The D-backs win 2-0. And after a pretty impressive weekend in Los Angeles against the Dodgers, this team just keeps rolling along here, Jack.
It's amazing how they just never quit. They don't fight. They don't stop fighting. I mean, they come back and win a series after losing a devastating first game, but they never fold up 10. I can't imagine what that's like for the players to every single day go back out there knowing that when the bullpen gate swings open, it's a box of chocolates and you don't know what you're going to get, but they play hard and they play sharp and they hustle and give their guts all day long. And it's just super impressive.
Well, we talked after his last start, Jack, about how Zac Gallen had a very, very good month of August, an ERA of 2.57, I believe, when that month was finished. And here he is in September, throwing 6 scoreless innings to start things off. Pretty weird start for him in some ways. He only had 2 swinging strikes the entire day. Somehow he had 5 strikeouts with only 2 whiffs. I'm not quite sure how that's possible. I guess it's a whole lot of called strikes. Certainly a couple of calls maybe went his way. But this was maybe a different version of Zac Gallen, Jack, than what we've seen from him when he's at his best. You know, usually you see the strikeout numbers tick up. You see him getting 8 or 9 whiffs with his curveball. But this was a little bit more of a pitch to contact approach, and it worked pretty well for him.
Yeah. I mean, he got some calls. I mean, obviously, that's how he got the strikeouts. He had 15 foul balls. And of the 18 balls in play, only like 4 or 5 of them were technically hard hit balls. And his average exit velocity for the game was 84.6. It's a lot of soft contact. He did kind of catch a break on a long fly out to right field with 2 men on in the 5th inning. Wyatt Langford sent Corbin Carroll to the track. And Zac was due a bit of a break. I mean, as we've seen in the past, it just seemed like he had so many starts where he was going really well, and then a couple of men get on, and he gets bit by the long ball. And he's expressed on numerous occasions, and he did so again today, that was the biggest source of frustration for him. He never lost his confidence. But he felt good today. He felt like he had command of that fastball, and he was able to put it where he wanted to. And his other pitches, kept him around the zone and got the soft contact. So it was very impressive, and had a fun little exchange with him. I'll tell you about in a minute.
The Diamondbacks bullpen, Jack, was also a big part of this win, of course, throwing 3 scoreless innings behind Gallen to complete the shutout. And the D-backs bullpen, we touched on this in a show recently as well. It's actually been pretty decent here for the past month or so. Taylor Rashi, of course, another multi-inning save in the game yesterday. Obviously, Monday wasn't a great day for the bullpen, but on the whole, Jack, that unit has actually been pretty decent for the Diamondbacks lately, and I'm not sure that when this team first picked up Jake Woodford, I necessarily saw him as the closer, but I guess that's sort of the direction we're headed here as he got the save again on Wednesday, his 3rd save of the season with the Diamondbacks. And he's not exactly your prototypical closer, but he's making it work right now.
It's great for him. I mean, look, this is what they have to do. What I like is Torrey's just saying, hey, these are the guys I got. I'm going to use them. I got confidence in them, and he's sending them out there with confidence. Nobody's worried about losing a job, so to speak. I mean, obviously, some of the younger guys could get sent down, but it's kind of fun to watch these guys just go out there and do it with whatever they have. And it's different. I mean, look, we're singing a completely different tune than we were Monday, right? I mean, Monday was the pit of despair, and then two good outings of relief, and the bullpen's doing great. That's the nature of the beast. Look, we know what it is, but you have to give guys like Woodford credit when it's due, and so it was due today, just like Taylor Rashi yesterday.
Not much offense to speak of in this game, Jack. Just a 2-0 victory obviously was enough. Gabriel Moreno had an RBI single in the 1st inning, and then the D-backs also scored a run in the 2nd on a fielding error. Jake McCarthy reached base. Alec Thomas scored on the play. So that was the only offense the Diamondbacks got the entire day. They didn't score the rest of the way after the second inning. And Jack Leiter was pretty good on the Rangers side of things. He and Zac Gallen, Gallen finishes the day not allowing any runs, but Leiter had, I think it was 16 whiffs, 18 whiffs. It was 18 compared to Gallen's 2. So those two guys went about it a very different way. There was all kinds of swing and miss for Jack Leiter on the Rangers side. He's been pitching really well lately. But yeah, I mean, the offense was obviously able to do just enough. And this Diamondbacks pitching staff had themselves a really, really good day against a team that's been pretty good lately. I mean, the Rangers coming into this series, one of the hottest teams in baseball, and pretty impressive for the Diamondbacks to do what they did here over the past few days.
Yeah. Back to Zac a moment. I had a little fun with him during the post-game scrum. He's aware. I mean, they all see what we tweet and write. I don't know that they spend all day looking up our stuff, but they're aware of what we say, tweet, and write. And part of the fun part of the job is you get to talk to people directly, one-on-one. And Zac's pretty open. If you are honest with him, he's going to be honest with you. And I said to him, you've kind of shown that you've never lost your inner confidence, and what's it like, kind of like proving us wrong, because I've written some things that kind of indicated that confidence wasn't there. And, it looks like what I wrote was wrong. And he started to answer. He goes, "Say that again." And the whole, I tweeted that out if you want to see my Twitter. I don't know if I exactly paraphrased what was said, but that was the gist of it. And he took it pretty well. And then after the scrum, chatted with him a little bit more. And, he's a gentleman. He always has been. Very professional. Has never shied away from standing in front of the cameras, good or bad. So always give him props for that. But we've had an ongoing discussion about the qualifying offer. Do they offer it? If they do offer it, does he accept it? Is that a good thing or a bad thing for the Diamondbacks if they accept it? Well, the way he's going, I think the questions about whether they offer it are melting away.
Yeah.
And focus now becomes, does he accept it or reject it? And if he has 4 or 5 more starts like he's been going in the last 6 or 7, then, I think it's fairly clear he's going to reject it. I don't think he's going to get his ERA, too much lower. I mean, he'd have to go like 30 innings and give up only 6 runs to get it under 4.5. I think I saw somebody write over at AZ Snake Pit, our friends over there. But if he gets his ERA down to 4.6 or whatever, and his peripherals continue to improve, then he's certainly in line to get over $50 million. Which is the threshold that we care the most about should he decide to reject a qualifying offer.
If you had to answer right now, Jack, over under $80 million for Zac Gallen in free agency, do you have a feeling one way or another right now? I think I'd lean over.
Yeah, I don't want to answer right now. I do want to see the next 4 or 5 starts before I assess, contract value. But I think the key here is one more of these maybe, or they've already decided, to make the qualifying offer. I think that any hesitancy that they had about giving him the qualifying offer, I mean, we've been saying how that meter has just been going, more and more this way, and I think they're there. So I think that decision is pretty much made. I mean, he'll get the QO unless something really bad happens or something.
Well, we have some more takeaways from the Rangers series to talk about. Of course, a really unfortunate injury with Lourdes Gurriel Jr. going down. We're going to talk about all of that on the other side of this break. Week 1 starts now, and every touchdown brings you closer to a payout with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. New customers, this one's for you. Bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets instantly. Plus, grab over $200 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Your season starts now. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code FOUL. That's code FOUL to get $300 in bonus bets instantly when you place your first bet of $5 or more, plus over $200 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY at 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio.
Well, Jack, it wasn't only Zac Gallen who pitched well for the Diamondbacks in the Rangers series. They went 3 for 3 in quality starts over the course of the series. And on Tuesday, it was Nabil Crismatt once again assembling a very, very good start for the Diamondbacks. 6 1/3 innings, 7 hits, 2 runs, just 1 walk, 3 strikeouts. And Jack, I think we both have sort of continued to be amazed by Crismatt's ability to go out there and not only just give the Diamondbacks a chance to win every time he's been in there, but really be a catalyst for this team and really give them a big push toward winning some of these games.
Yeah, Torrey described what he's doing right now as putting the ball in a teacup. He's placing the ball where he wants. He's playing games with the hitters. He's able to get them he's reading their swings and figuring out which of his pitches is going to best fit in that situation. And I had an interesting conversation with Brian Kaplan, the pitching coach, after today's game, actually. And what he said was, the difference for Crismatt coming out of the bullpen versus going as a starter, for a guy like him, he has more time to plan and strategize his attack as opposed to the adrenaline pumping emergence from a bullpen. So it really does seem to suit him better. So it's fun to see it. Of course, Torrey invoked Greg Maddux, and who doesn't? When somebody throws soft and gets a lot of swing and miss, and induces a lot of weak contact. But I mean, this Nabil Crismatt is kind of like a right-handed version of what we thought we were going to get from Eduardo Rodriguez, which was a guy who's going to be around the plate and induce a lot of soft contact and keep hitters off balance. But it's fun to watch. I hope he can keep it up. I mean, he's been giving up a fair amount of hits, but he's not walking guys, and he's getting ground ball double plays and getting the strikeouts when he needs them. I mean, sooner or later, he's probably going to get bit. I mean, it's still 89 miles an hour. It is still hittable if batters figure him out. But for now, the fact that he's got so many different weapons, so many different pitches, and he can add and subtract on each of them, he's doing the magician's act. And so it'd be fun to see if it continues. But for now, it's just been a great little ride.
Crismatt, I know you talked to Brian Kaplan as well about him and this way that he has of just finding ways to get guys out. It seems to me, Jack, that Crismatt is the type of guy who really knows who he is as a pitcher and is not afraid to embrace that identity that he has. Obviously, he's bounced around here among a number of different organizations. He's been sent down quite a lot so far in his professional career. I mean, I think he's made about 20 starts this year down in AAA. So it's not like he's been in the majors a whole lot, but you can just tell he knows who he is as a pitcher, and he has a lot of confidence in his ability that when he does get this opportunity to pitch in the big leagues, he's going to be able to come through, and his strategy is going to work at this level as well.
Yeah. I think so. I believe that he probably should have been starting much earlier than this. His stuff has always seemed to profile as a starter. It's a little odd that he hadn't gotten the opportunity to start in the majors before this. So, we'll see how it rolls from here. Anthony DeSclafani probably is going to make it back before the end of the year. So we'll see, if they shake things up again or if they go to a 6-man or what. They could end up doing that, especially if they get eliminated in the middle of the month or something like that, and they want to get a few more looks at a few other guys. We could see that happen as well. But for now, Nabil Crismatt is a guy that kind of like I guess I want to almost say like a poor man's Merrill Kelly.
Sure.
Who is more enjoyable to watch than Merrill? Now Merrill could hump it up there at 94, 95 once in a while. He averaged 92. But when he was, feeling it or maybe feeling a little red ass, he would throw a little bit harder. But there's a lot of similarities there, 5, 6 different pitches, add, subtract, great changeup. So that's kind of the way he profiles for me right now.
We don't actually have to have this conversation, but as you were talking, I had this thought in my head of like, what if the Diamondbacks actually did make the playoffs? And like, where would Nabil Crismatt slot in their postseason rotation? Does it go Ryan Nelson in game 1, Gallen in game 2, and then like, I don't know, is Crismatt in there in game 3 or game 4? Yeah, probably not a serious conversation we need to have at this point, but it has been really impressive to see him go about his business.
Yeah, I have to admit that I have not contemplated that even for 1 second before you brought it up.
These are the kinds of things that run through my head on a daily basis. Beyond Nabil Crismatt, who definitely deserved a shout out, Ketel Marte, of course, had some big moments in this series, just 3 for 12 overall, but he had a couple of home runs, 4 RBI. Of course, the big blow there being that 3-run home run on Tuesday that turned a tie game into a 5-2 D-backs advantage. They went on to finish off that victory, of course. And then Jordan Lawlar, Jack, he did the thing. He found a way to get not just one base hit, but 2 of them. He was 2 for 3 in the game on Tuesday, one of those hits being a double. Both of them were hit hard. These were not cheap shots, both well over 100 miles off the bat. And obviously, he has a long ways to go, but this was a big step in the right direction for him.
Great to see. Just as great was the reaction from his teammates. That was just fun to see them all celebrate his hit. They were so happy for him. So that's a human element that shouldn't be overlooked. They all root for each other. They're all pulling for each other. They all have been through it and know what it's like to slump. So that's an important piece of all of this. I hope it carries forward. I said the other day, sooner or later he's going to have a couple of hits, and then it becomes, okay, where do you go from here? So he's got the opportunity to grow and develop. He's going to get even a little bit more playing time because of the way things are shaking out, with Blaze Alexander needing to play the outfield a little bit more due to the unfortunate injury with Lourdes Gurriel Jr. So that'll open up even some more opportunity for Lawlar to get a little bit more playing time.
Yeah, you mentioned the Gurriel injury, Jack. I didn't want to say it when we were live the other night, but ACL was kind of what I had in my head. It's hard to see what we saw the other day and not at least think that when you have a player go down with a knee injury, non-contact, seemingly in really, really serious pain. It felt like that was a possibility, and sure enough, that is the case. The torn ACL for Lourdes Gurriel. Of course, his 2025 season is over. And it sounds to me, Jack, like the timeline here is still kind of undecided. Of course, any ACL, you don't really know on the front end exactly how long it's going to take. But it seems like they're still gathering information here, trying to get a better sense of exactly what's going to be needed. But certainly, this is not going to be a short process for Lourdes Gurriel. He is going to miss quite a bit of time in 2026 as well. We just don't know exactly what that's going to look like yet.
Yeah, I mean, Torrey said that it would be reconstructive surgery, that he was still gathering second opinions. And, we're all internet sleuths, right? So we all know it's 6 to 12 months, depending on the surgery and the athlete and the recovery time. So, I mean, there's a world where he could be back by, April or May or something like that. I mean, that's always possible. If it's 12 months, then you're looking at August, September, which would be absolutely horrible. Hopefully, it's not quite that bad. Just terrible to see it. Um, it's also creates obvious questions and problems for the team going forward. This is not a position that they were anticipating having to refill. It becomes almost more dead money for them.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to go through this conversation, but they're staring down the barrel of opening next year with over $50 million worth of payroll on the IL, and most of the players there are going to miss at least the first 4 months of the year. Corbin Burns, J Mart, AJ Puck, and now Lourdes.
Yeah.
You know, all four of those guys are likely to miss at least April, May, June, July. You know, and if they get lucky, some of them come back a little earlier at whatever performance level. So if there's 50 million, maybe it's not 100% dead money, but it's at least 2/3 or 3/4 dead money. So that just makes things a little bit tougher for them as far as managing what they're able to do, who they're able to bring in, who they're able to sign. That's just one more large hole that they have to fill.
Yeah, I think it definitely begs a bigger picture question about how the Diamondbacks should approach things this offseason. Is it when you have Ketel Marte and Corbin Carroll and Geraldo Perdomo and, Gabriel Moreno, like this team does have some really solid players on the position player side. And on the pitching side, they obviously need some serious help, but there's still some talent there. Ryan Nelson looks like a really solid young starter. Maybe Brandon Falk can turn things around. We figure they'll probably add an arm or two in the offseason. But yeah, on one hand, you want to try to compete because you do have some legitimate good pieces on this team. But on the other, Jack, do you reach a point where these injuries have just stacked up so much that maybe it isn't really worth going out there and being super aggressive on this team this offseason? Maybe 2026 is a little bit more of not a rebuild year. I don't think the team is ever going to use that term, but maybe it's a year where you're trying to compete, but you're not trying all that hard. Like you're going out there, you're trying to get some back end bullpen help, but you're not necessarily shooting at the top of the market because there's just kind of a lot of, as you said, there's just a lot of holes on this team that need to be filled.
I think also, look, we have to face the fact that there's very likely to be a work stoppage in 2027. How long that'll be, who knows? But there's going to be a lockout, and we're going to lose games in 2027. Whether it's we lose the whole season or 2 weeks of the season, but we're going to lose some time. And so at this point, a team like the Diamondbacks have to factor that in. I mean, are you going to go out and sign a 30-year-old free agent for 2026, and then in his age 31 season, there may not even be a season, and by the time everybody comes back, now he's 32. I mean, I'm just giving you an example. So, it may not be the right time for them for 10 different reasons: the injuries, the money, the looming lockout. There's a case to be made that, like you said, they'll never say rebuild, but there's a case to be made to rebuild.
Yeah.
I added up in my mind, they need 2 starting pitchers. They need 2 high leverage relievers. They need to figure out long-term solutions for first base and third base. And they need to now figure out at least 1 right-handed hitting outfielder slot long-term. Okay, now some of that can be filled internally, but you're taking a risk. I mean, you could try to fill all of it and just say, well, we're a total rebuilding year. We're going to throw guys out there and let them and see how they do in a full year and then decide who we keep and don't. But I don't think they'll go that route. That's never been their MO. But from all of that, right, I mean, 2 starters, 2 high leverage relievers, 2 corner infielders, and 1 outfielder. That's 7 big slots that they have to fill. Plus maybe backup catcher, who knows, right? So if they can fill 2 of those internally, that's still 5 they got to go out and get. And now you're going to start giving away prospects and spending your last dime that you have available to you for free agents to try to scrape together those 5 spots. It's going to be really hard. I mean, it's a big challenge. That's why they get paid the big bucks, and I'm sure they'll be creative and find ways to do things that I'm not imagining at this time. I'm not, downplaying Mike Hazen and his team's ability to come up with some pretty interesting trades that we didn't see coming, or a signing that turns into a value signing. That can all happen. But when you look at how daunting that is from both a financial and a player roster whole situation, there's a pretty strong case to be made. Like, hey, back off a little bit, play some more young guys, maybe you get to the trade deadline and you zoom it up, like, hey, if you outperform expectations and you're above 500 at the trade deadline and you're a buyer position, then you can go ahead and start adding some guys. You might have more clarity too at that point where things stand with regards to 2027. Although I still think that's going to be a poop show.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you waited until the trade deadline to make some of those additions, then maybe you'd also have a better sense of what you could get from Corbin Burns maybe in the second half. I mean, you're certainly not going to expect a ton, but you'd have quite a bit of information at that point on where he is in his rehab and whether you can actually expect anything from him. Same story with the relievers that you mentioned. So lots of big picture questions to answer here for sure going into the offseason. And we have a whole offseason ahead of us, not too far from now, to consider all those questions. So be sure to stick with us here on Snakes Territory. We'll be having all sorts of fun conversations.
Isn't the off season like almost 2 months away?
It's not that far away, Jack. I mean, I guess if you want to talk yourself into this Diamondbacks team making a World Series run, and Jake Woodford is closing games all the way in deep into October. Who knows? And I guess on that note, we should look at the standings just to cover our bases here. The Diamondbacks are 70-71 after this series against the Rangers. The New York Mets lost today, Jack, so they are now 5.5 games out of that third wild card spot. Feels like every time this number starts with a 4 or a 5, we're kind of wondering like, oh, maybe they're getting back in it here. But obviously, time is running pretty short at this point as well.
It's miracle, Hail Mary time. I mean, look, if the D-backs win 6 in a row and the Mets lose 6 in a row starting from tomorrow or Friday, then the D-backs would be a half game ahead of the Mets. I mean, so, it could happen. I mean, it's not the weirdest thing in the world. On the other hand, the D-backs have not had a winning streak longer than 5 games all year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't want to get too caught up in it, but the team is playing like they have a shot. And Zac said that again today. Hey, until there's an actual 0 or an E next to our name, we're playing for it. Their elimination number is 17 as far as catching the Mets. So any combination of Mets victories and Diamondbacks losses that total 17 would cement the D-backs behind the Mets. So that's where we are there. Padres have lost 8 of 10, notably.
Yeah, they've really slipped. I don't know what exactly is going on there. They're still within striking distance in the NL West, though, just 2.5 games behind the Dodgers as we record this. Be interesting to see how that race goes here the rest of the way. But yeah, I mean, the Diamondbacks, to their credit, Jack, they've pulled within 1 game of 500. I mean, even if making the playoffs is really in miracle territory, and we're definitely not expecting that, they've got a shot here to finish the season above 500. And given where things stood around the trade deadline and in the few days after the trade deadline, I mean, I remember you and I having some off-air conversations about, is this team going to get to 70 wins? Are they going to get to 74 wins? I mean, I
never got it 70. I think I was thinking like 75, 77, something like that.
Sure.
I took the under on 79.5.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. So 70 would have felt pretty low even when this team really was at its lowest point in the days following the trade deadline. But I think if you told me a few weeks ago that this team would be within a game of 500, I'd be pretty impressed. Given what they have on this roster right now, they've done a pretty impressive job, and of course it's a whole lot of young guys getting some opportunities here, along with players like Nabil Crismatt, who have been fun to watch as well. Well, there was a press conference at Chase Field on Wednesday, Jack. I know you were there for it. Katie Hobbs out at the ballpark. We're going to talk about what the deal was, what the story was. We'll do that right after this break.
FT fam, designer clothes can be expensive, but we want our clothes to look good. We want to feel good. We want them to be affordable. And Kratz, if you tell me that I can wear a t-shirt that looks like it's tailored, but it's not actually tailored, and it just comes that way, then sign me up for True Classic.
Have to. You got to sign up for it because these shirts are soft, they're thin, they're durable, And they're very versatile. You can wear them to the gym. You can wear them out to a nice dinner. Let's get after it because these shirts are the real deal.
They are. Check it out. I've got one of the performance ones. It's a nice blue, fits well. I can go to the gym. I can go out. I can do FT in a shirt like this. FT fam, there's a reason why True Classic has sold over 25 million shirts to more than 5 million customers. And they are racking up over 200,000 five-star reviews. See for yourself with our exclusive link at trueclassic.com/foul to save. That's trueclassic.com/FOUL.
Well, Jack, I guess it was more ceremonial, more of a formality this time around. HB 2704, that bill had already been signed here recently. However, there was this nice press conference at Chase Field today solidifying the fact that this bill has been signed, that the Diamondbacks have a long-term future at Chase Field in Arizona established moving forward. And Katie Hobbs was there, and she talked about how it's time that we show up for the fans of this Diamondbacks team. Obviously, it's the stadium has not gotten the renovations that maybe you would want it to have, and the team and the local city officials are certainly on board with making that happen.
Yeah, she recited a lot of the team history and the great times and the excitement, and spoke about some of the star players. She's clearly been a fan, and so has her family, for a very long time. But then she went on to speak about the fact that the HVAC system is 27 years old and doesn't really quite do the job. Ironically, it was a little warm in there today. There's been a leaky roof. They've even had to evacuate the stadium, because of that. And she kind of followed up with, Arizonans deserve better than this. Fans have routinely showed up for the city and the state, and it's time that we show up for them. So that was her, the gist of what she had to say. Jeff Wenninger, the state representative that was the sponsor of this bill, he spoke for a little bit, and he emphasized the bipartisanship nature that this effort really reached across the aisle, that he even joked, he said, look, we have lots of things to fight about, and we'll get to that next year, as he's a Republican, and he turned around and joked with the Democratic governor. But he said this is an issue that they felt very strongly that there would be bipartisan support for, and there clearly was from our elected representatives in the state. So that's where we are today with that. Now, subsequent to the signing ceremony and just some opening statements that they all made, Derek Hall did take questions, and he answered some questions interestingly. So the first thing that really came up was the issue of the team's investment, their commitment to put in $250 million. And the question became very pointed from some of the political reporters, a little rougher than we are. They were kind of they went after him pretty good, actually. Were very challenging in the way they asked their questions, and to Derek's credit, he kept his cool and answered everything. But it was an interesting response, because one of the criticisms of the bill has been that there's no provision written into the bill that actually locks the Diamondbacks into making that $250 million commitment. And his response was, my understanding was you can't put it in the bill because it would be unconstitutional. But we had committed to it long ago. When we started negotiating, they asked if it was something we'd be willing to do. And of course, we said we will. So the state is committed to $500 million, to invest up to $500 million over the course of the deal, and the Diamondbacks $250 million of their own money. The number $1.2 billion has been floated out there, but that's based on adjustments people are making for inflation. It's hard to say if that's where it's going to go, but it is notable that he said that most of the major upfront renovations to the HVAC system, fixing the roof, the plumbing, the electrical, they can probably do some, that would all take about 5 years to get it all done, as well as fixing the ribbon getting a new ribbon board and a video board, things like that. I think he said there'll be fan experience upgrades. I would interpret that to mean suites, but they're not reducing the size of they're not cutting capacity very much. So the planning phase, he said, over many years. He then later said most of the work would be done within 5 years. And he pointed out that, between the full 162 game season and some years postseason, and then they're still trying to book postseason events and concerts and so forth, they have to manage around all that. So they can't just shut everything down and, get it all done in a year. The process for planning what they're going to do first, second, third, that all starts tomorrow with their stadium consultant out of Atlanta. So there's that. And then the last piece that's really noteworthy is the new lease has not yet been signed. And there was an interesting technical point about that. The language of the bill calls for a new 30-year lease to be signed, and that hasn't happened. So what Hall explained was instead of signing a lease with the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors, there's a new stadium district board that's being formed after the bill goes into effect to administrate this funding mechanism, and that includes the lease agreement. So once that new board is formed, he said it's going to be 10 members, 9 voting, and then we're ex officio. In other words, they don't have a voting right. We'll have oversight over the planning, and then we'll go to them and they'll have the approval, but they can also approve a lease extension as well. So the exact timing for when that board will be constituted isn't known as of right now, but clearly the lease extension will not occur until after that comes to pass, the board constitution. So that's kind of the update on HB 2704. For people that are not familiar with it, just one more time, HB 2704 is what they call a tax recapture mechanism. So it's not a new tax. It's taking money that is derived from tax revenues produced at Chase Field, tickets, parking, concessions, player salaries, and so forth. So the tax on that, a portion of that tax money is, instead of going into the regular state coffers, will now go into a fund to support this renovation effort. So it's not a new tax. But where the conflict and argument came, of course, was, well, if some of that money is being diverted to a different fund, what's that coming out of? And Mayor Kate Gallego was probably the most vocal opponent to the deal.
Yeah.
But through many rounds of negotiation and compromise, she was able to get the compromises she needed, as did the state and county, and the team made compromises. And so it all ended up on the governor's desk. The governor had said, if everybody's on board, then I'll sign this bill. And so obviously they got everybody on board and she signed it. Sorry to be so windy, but I thought that it deserved a thorough explanation.
Yeah, no, that is all very helpful. We'll definitely continue to provide updates on this as we have them. As Jack said, there's still a lease to be signed. That's still a pretty big box that needs to be checked here, but of course we expect that to happen. And the big picture takeaway here, Jack, is that the Diamondbacks didn't make the same mistake that I hate to even mention their name, but there's another franchise in town that did not have so much success when it came to trying to secure a long-term future, and the Diamondbacks were able to avoid that outcome. They're going to be in Arizona. They're going to be downtown at this facility where already so many great moments have happened in the franchise's history, and that's a big win across the board for everyone involved. You certainly hate to see really any time a franchise moves from one city to another. It's always really, really devastating for that community, and certainly not something that the state of Arizona wanted to see happen again. So the Diamondbacks are here to stay. They're going to be downtown. They're going to be in the same facility that everybody is used to driving to here over the last few decades. So that is good news, Jack, across the board.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah, that is everything. I wasn't sure if you were going to add something else there. That's everything that we have for this episode of Snakes Territory. We really appreciate all of you being here with us as usual. Was there something you were going to add, Jack? Is there one thing we're forgetting here?
No, I just want to give a shout out to Leo and his lovely bride. I bumped into them in the elevator today. They're big fans and listeners of the show, and they saw me today in the elevator on their way upstairs. And so thank you to Leo and your lovely wife, and to all our listeners.
Jack gets stopped in the elevator just like on a daily basis now, ever since we started doing the Snakes territory thing. He's very, very popular over at the stadium. But yeah, shout out to all of our viewers and listeners out there. We very much appreciate you. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to our channel here on YouTube. Like this video if you can. It helps us out a lot. Drop a comment. We always love hearing from you here. You can find us over on Twitter. I am at Jesse N. Friedman. Jack is at ShoeWizard59. And our show is at Snakes Territory. Of course, Jack does a great job covering this Diamondbacks team over at si.com/MLB/Diamondbacks. If you're interested in reading more about this HB 2704 bill and all of the details that we were just summarizing, Jack has a great and very thorough story over at si.com/MLB/Diamondbacks right now. So be sure to check that out if you have not already. Yeah, once again, we say thank you for being with us here on this episode. We really appreciate your support, and we'll be back with another episode of Snakes Territory very, very soon.